I think
It
it's
really is.
important to have traditions. And I was actually talking to someone in Sweden about, religion in a sense, like brings traditions. Like I'm not a religious person and I don't necessarily like the institutions when it comes to religion, but the traditions that comes or that stem from that religion are great, and I think we should keep some of them, and Christmas is one of those where you can just get back to tradition.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's really like it's so nice. And it's this kind of idea that, at the end of the day, what we all want is to be loved and be like in a loving environment. So I think that's what with like is with Christmas. And there are so many people who maybe don't have like a huge family, or they don't have anyone to go to Christmas, like to go to Christmas. Anyways, you
Yeah,
know what I mean?
celebrate Christmas with, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's just also important to be aware that all that warm and fuzzy feeling is inside of us, so
That was so sweet.
but it's true, it's true. And there are people who, yeah, the people who don't have a family, but also people who would like, they might go into a family that is not necessarily okay, or they would feel a bit left out, so that's also something to remember.
And also remember that I think there's a lot of pressure on family members in general, because we expect them somehow to be perfect, like, and we expect them to just always say the right things and be perfect and make us feel perfect. And I think you sort of romanticize this idea that you're going to go home and everything's just going to be like a
Yeah.
cloud, you're sitting there and everyone's just nice, like catering to your needs. And the reality is everyone is different. Everyone has different personalities. Everyone is going through stuff, even if they're your parents or your grandparents or family friends or cousins. Like everyone has their own, pardon me, shit in their life. So don't expect that they're always going to be nice and kind, because you're not always nice and kind. But actually, if you try to be nice and kind, they might reciprocate. So if you get like judgmental grandparents or family friends or things like that, just remember that they're talking from their own limited mindset to a
Yeah.
certain extent, especially if they're your grandparents. Like they have their own beliefs and their old mindset, and like don't take things personally. I'm saying this to myself. I've learned it throughout the years, and I've taken things very personally from family members. But just remember that they love you ultimately. At their core, they love you, and everything they say is because they want to see you happy and they want to see you, happy. That's it. They want to see you loved and happy. So
Yeah.
everything they say, it comes from that space, unless they're psychopaths. But which is I guess there's cases like that as well. But unless they actually like have unless they're actually psychopaths or they have like some sort of mental disability, they probably don't want to hurt you, or like they don't want to do anything to you other than make you happy. And that's why they maybe say things that are not very pleasant to you.
Yeah. And also, like, remember, like you said, it's coming from their perception of the world and what they've been through or what they're going through. So it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with you ultimately. So I think that's also important to keep in mind. But like, changing a bit the tone, somebody's gonna start something very interesting this week.
Oh my
Please tell
God.
us more.
Yeah, so everyone, I think you didn't hear enough about Tony Robbins on this podcast yet. So let me just bring it up right now, because I talked about Date with Destiny in other episodes. But actually, this year I decided, why not? It's been 2 years since I've been to my last Date with Destiny. Why not actually go to the Date with Destiny virtual? Because obviously Corona doesn't allow us to have like a real thing, and it's also cheaper, not gonna lie. I mean, factoring in the prices of planes and hotels and food, like it's an expensive experience to have. So having it from the comfort of your own home, of course, is not the same. But Tony has managed to just create this really nice space, like with Zoom and just being as close to the experience as possible. So it's gonna actually be with the time change, like it's gonna be a whole night. So it's gonna be about like 10-12 hours of work on myself from the 4th to the 9th of December. It's gonna be interesting, at Date with Destiny, and UPW, like all of Tony's events, you realize that like you really create energy from within, and your body can really take so much. Um, but I'm going in there with like very clear intentions about what I want to transform. Because when I went to my first Date with Destiny, I was maybe was I 20 or 21? I don't remember. I think it was 21. And now I'm 23, but I feel like so much has changed from my first day with Destiny and when I went there for the first time. I was really so unsure about my life. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know at all who I was. I was super, 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 super insecure. I wasn't, comfortable with being, myself and the womanhood in me, let's say. So a lot of things have changed from Date with Destiny. Um, and there I just went sort of like lost. And now I'm going in with like a clear intention about what I want to change, what I want to transform, the areas I want to work on, and knowing the structure of the event. Like I know exactly when I'm going to work each aspect, but I'm very, very, very excited to see Tony. I miss his like energy, although I obviously won't see him in person, but it's just nice to see him there and all the value that he's gonna bring. And I'm excited to like film the podcast and let you know what my breakthroughs were and what my experience was. And if you guys want to participate in any of the events, like there's going to be a lot of Unleash the Power Within events in the coming months. Date with Destiny is once a year. Um, so, I mean, twice a year, once for Australia and New Zealand, and then the other one for the rest of the world. But you should, I think that you should try it out. And I think Marina as well, you would love UPW because they do it online. And
Mhm.
it's not that expensive. Like Date with Disney is more expensive, but like UPW is more accessible now, and you can even do it with like a friend or something, so you can both like benefit from it. But I think it's a very nice boost, and I'm excited because if I do this from the to the 9th of December, then I can go like so hard on my goals. Like I'm gonna write my goals like more than I do them now. Like now I have some goals, but I want to really do the work after I've been to Date with Destiny, so I know exactly what clear vision I need. And then for the next 6 months, I'm gonna be pumped up. Like that's what happens for 6 months after Date with Destiny, you're super pumped up. Then things start to go down if you don't keep up the work. But again, you can't just like you can have like this breakthrough and transformation, but if you don't keep up the work on yourself, you can as easily fall back down into your old patterns.
Yeah, I agree. But how is the structure of this event for people who don't know? Like, I don't really know exactly, like, for example, what will you be doing? I think that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, so you have I don't remember exactly the names of each days, but then you have like a preparation day, then you have like a day where you talk about values, then you have one whole day dedicated to relationships, like relationship day, then you have one transformation day. Like I forgot exactly the structure of them, but each of them is structured uh, along a topic, I would say. And then there's also one day in which you talk about suicide, and he does like suicide interventions, which is really tough. Like if you watched his documentary on Netflix, or you can watch it, you will see how it works. But he says that always in a room of like 5,000 people, there's at least 10 people that want to commit suicide. So he asks who there wants to commit suicide, and then he works with one or two of them to try to release those thoughts and get better. um and then there's also one activity where you write sort of the thing that you feel most guilty that you've done in your life, and then you do sort of this like cleansing technique to let that go out of your life. There's a lot of different exercises, and I'm going to share what I'm done. But it's, yeah, he structures it on days, and I love relationship day. I think relationship day is so interesting, and I've learned so much about how men and women work, like, and it's so interesting. Like you would think otherwise, but then when you learn about feminine and masculine energies, and when you learn about what men want and what women want, like it's so much easier to navigate relationships, and not only like personal relationships but also relationships in general.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really interesting. It's something that I always thought to do. I mean, not always, but like in the past year, after I saw his documentary, actually, but I never really like went out there to actually do it. But now I think like seeing you and really knowing that it works, I think I will
I know
try.
so many people who've been like celebrities, a lot of like business people have been to his event. Not everyone shares, but then like it's so once you've been to one or two of his events, you already know from people's like terminology, like how they talk, what they talk about, the courses that they create. Like you can see the Tony influence so easily. Like because he has certain terminology and certain things that he talks about and he teaches. So it's obvious to see who went to Tony Robbins. But I think it's a nice investment in yourself. Like if you want to make yourself a gift this year or next year, I would think investing in your personal development is so important, because if you don't have to give yourself a material gift, because trust me, once you've worked on yourself, like material things are gonna show up in your life much faster, although you have to work for them. But things are going to get a lot better in many ways. So I would say invest in yourself first, and in your growth and in your mindset, and then you're going to see the big changes in your life.
Yeah, I agree. Now I started reading a book. It's called The Courage to be Disliked.
Oh my God, I need that book. I listen, this is like science from the universe. I was listening to a podcast earlier, and they were like, the woman who was talking, she was like, yeah, you need to like learn how to be disliked, and like you need to embrace the fact that you are going to be disliked by people. And I'm like, okay, I need that. Like I need that. So I'm gonna order that book, The Courage to be Disliked. Let me just
Yeah. And I just started reading it, I think yesterday. I've been like 3 pages in.
Yeah.
But it's something that I know I need to work on. It's just accepting that people are not going to like me, that at some point I'm going to receive hate in whatever sort or form.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's something still that I'm not 100% okay with. And that's why I cannot, I know, and I feel that I cannot be 100% or give 100% in what I want to do, because I'm not yet there accepting that some people are not going to like me. And I think, and it's something that I've actually noticed, that so many people who are actually very successful and who achieved a lot of success, they did it in the moment that they let it all go. They posted, they said whatever they wanted to do, and they didn't care that there are going to be people who are not going to like them.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to read this book because this woman I was listening to, she said that this is like the problem people have in their early 20s and mid 20s, because we don't have the confidence yet and the security yet. But I think, oh my God, I really want to, I agree with you. Like there's some things that I want to do, and that's stopping me. That's stopping me. Like I'm nervous. I'm scared to do some things because I feel like I'm going to be judged or not liked by people. But I think this is a work in progress, and I'm going to read this book because I want to actively work on it. And this is actually one of the things I want to work on at Tony as well. Like The Courage to be Disliked is a great title. Wow.
Yeah, and it's how to live a happy life, and it's really really interesting. I read 3 pages in, but just like the concept, that I think it's so important. And for me, what's scary is that I'm seeing so many, to be honest, celebrities and so many famous people getting canceled nowadays for like this. Just it's ridiculous. And that's what I know why it's scary for me. It's like, oh, I want to try something, but what if I'm gonna get canceled, and that's not okay, because that's stopping us from doing whatever we want to do.
Like there's the risk that you're going to be canceled, but there's the risk that you're going to succeed. So I think ultimately, like, to find out if you're going to succeed, then you have to take the risk of being canceled. But I think that's a risk that you take in every single area of your life.
That's
like
true.
of course, listen, I think people, the thing that I always find amusing is that people say, my God, starting a business is so risky. And then I'm like, yeah, it is, but isn't having a job risky as well? Like, look at how many people got laid off recently. Like, I think there's a risk in anything. I just think that the risk you take in business and in entrepreneurship is that, like, yeah, maybe you don't have that like constant salary, or you have to like sometimes sacrifice some things, and it might take time to get the results that you want. But then you can also like advance as much as you want, and you can also like have the freedom to do whatever you want, and no one's telling you what to do, and you have full creativity.
Yeah.
But then with a job, you have that security sort of, but then you also don't have security. So ultimately, there's no security. Like, life is risky and life is volatile, and you have to accept it, and you have to prepare for it.